Have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? I recently saw a video he made and I was shocked. He's in his 80s and still kicking butt and working out and staying active. He did this by just making one change. Chuck says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing too, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger, her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck made a special video that explains everything. Make sure you watch it by going to chuckdefense.com/inspired or by clicking on a link below this video. It'll change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/inspired or click on a link in the description below to watch the video now. If the legendary Chuck Norris can do this at 81 years old, so can you. Watch his method by clicking on the link in the description box below. chuckdefense.com/inspired.
Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. It's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Inspired live stream. It is Saturday, February 17th, 2024. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free, we're winning, we're in the Twilight Zone. All of these things appear to be true at the same time. I'm glad to see you here in the live chat on YouTube, on Rumble, on X. We're expanding. We're always expanding. And even though we are in the Twilight Zone, and even though some very strange things are happening and some very disturbing things are happening, do not get despaired. Do not let yourself be pulled into the madness, because, you know, that's the one thing that they really want you to do, is give in to that madness. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. So I wanted to lead with that. We're going to shift this and turn this thing around. It's all good. But I think we need to stay on our toes, be very much aware, conscious, and also point to the proper and so simple solutions. They are very, very simple. We're going to talk about them a little later in the show today. And also about the willingness or unwillingness of people to take the crucial first step. So let me look a little bit into the Twilight Zone with you. I just came across this little announcement by Admiral Levine, the Assistant Secretary of the Department of Health. Let's just watch this. Sometimes the commentary really doesn't do it justice.
Hello, I'm Admiral Rachel Levine. This Black History Month, I'm pleased to partner with OMH in advancing better health through better understanding for Black communities. Climate change is having a disproportionate effect on the physical and mental health of Black communities. Black Americans are more likely than white Americans to live in areas and housing that increase their susceptibility to climate-related health issues. And 65% of Black Americans report feeling anxious about climate change's impact. Through our Office of Climate Change and Health Equity and the Office of Environmental Justice, we're working with providers and community leaders to identify innovative approaches that empower communities to address the health consequences linked to climate change. Visit hhs.gov for more.
Okay. I have decided to approach these things with the proper amount of humor. This is there's so much we could unpack in here that I'm actually not going to, because you can do it for yourself. You see what I'm talking about here. But just, this is the Assistant Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. Well, whatever is wrong with that picture, it ain't hard to see. But it's going to tie to some of the solutions I'm going to talk about later in the show. This week, we heavily talked about AI. We heavily talked about the enormous influences it already has been having, potentially for much longer than we could imagine. And so this is going to be an ongoing subject. I promised myself at the beginning, I believe, of 2022, that this was going to be a focal point, because when people, the only way people can make real informed decisions is when they are informed, when they see and comprehend and have the information necessary to make a good decision. And there's so little critical critical information on AI. I mean, there's enough to find on what's happening, but OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, Sam Altman is the front man for that company. That I would say a very, 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 very low level of consciousness there, generally speaking. But they put out an announcement that there's a new feature coming called Sora. Perhaps a kind of a quantum leap again. It's a text to video generating AI. However, it is different from others that are on the market. It creates longer clips, but also it allows you to take an existing video and extend it backward in time or forward in time. So let's say you have a clip that's like 10 seconds long of your children, your partner, your dog, your car, your whatever, and you want the clip to start earlier. So you type in something into Sora, like where the video should actually begin, and you basically alter the history of your clip, or you can extend it into the future. You can add stuff to it. You can add dinosaurs to it and whatnot. And what's shocking, it's the how realistic it looks. And this is just the first glimpse that we're getting here. So let's look at this together here. Okay, I just wanted to make clear. This is Sora. This was created by somebody typing a text prompt into Sora's search panel, and then Sora created this video. There was no camera. There were no real people. There was no videoing. There's none of that. It was completely AI generated. So this is what's going to be soon available to the public. And what's even more, I think, troubling is the function I talked about earlier, where you can take an existing clip and add stuff to it. And that, of course, is something, the deep fakes and stuff that we've been seeing and has been exposed to a certain extent. But I don't think that the public at large grasps what we're dealing with here. When you have AI written books, AI created scripts, AI written songs, AI filmed movies, and all of that, I don't think that the public at large really understands the potential on all sides of this. And there is really, here's the thing, people say it's just a tool, and depending on how we use it, it can be good or bad. I disagree with this strongly. This is next level artificiality. It's completely removed. See, there's something to be said for, okay, so you chop down that tree and you treated the wood and you let it dry and you let it do its thing for a year or two, and then you take the wood and then you cut it and you treat it and you turn it into a table. Yes, the table is an artificial thing, but there was a process involved that included your own creativity, your own two hands, that included work, that included intention, and you had to really make up your mind whether you wanted to invest all those hours into that piece. It was a lifetime you traded to create that table. There is zero lifetime required to create an unimaginable amount of false artificial reality with AI. And this is the sole problem, that ultimately everything that comes from it isn't real. Anything that is created with or from AI isn't really real anymore. And it's lacking a fundamental thing. It's lacking the human spirit. And this is something that we will unpack over the next weeks and months more and more. We will show what it can do, what it's capable. And we're only talking about the things that are publicly available. We're not talking about what the others have in terms of technology. Thank you so much, Norman. I appreciate that. But the question is, with all of this, And this is always going to be part of the conversation. Just showing what we're dealing with isn't enough. The question is, what can we actually do and what are the solutions? The solutions are simple, and they do not include necessarily voting or any of those things. The solutions are really, look at what has allowed for all this to thrive in our reality. If people are living within healthy families, if people are living in a way that they're connected to nature, if people are living in a way that they are in charge of their own needs and they can provide for them, then so much of what we see here on the screens isn't necessary, and people wouldn't even think about spending so much time with these gadgets and tools and whatnot. And so we have to ask ourselves the fundamental question: what is a healthy, good, and right way of living? And where have we lost that along the way, and why? And these are very, very important questions. Today, the vast majority of families are dysfunctional. I don't mean to point fingers. This is something that includes almost all of society. The vast majority of communities are dysfunctional. People have, and I'll speak about the United States, I can speak about Central Europe, certainly, and I can speak about Eastern Europe too, because I've been there a lot. People have actually an extraordinary amount, for example, an extraordinary amount of space, of land available. A lot of them, not everybody, a lot of people live in apartments, but a lot of people have a lot of space available. And you know what surprises me? We live here in the South, in Middle Tennessee. It's beautiful. It's lush green. There's enough rain. There's a lot of space, and people have half an acre, an acre. So a lot of people have more than an acre of land. You know what I see? Fertilized and pesticide infested green fake Monsanto grass. That's what I see the most. Maybe it's not all Monsanto, but I'm just saying that's what I see the most. I see ornamental shrubs. I see some ornamental trees. I see very, 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 very little fruit trees. I see very little veggies. I see very little of anything that people could actually use. So the solutions are very, very simple. We need to create conditions where people and families can actually begin to thrive again as family units. The family unit, if the family unit is strong, none of that shit can touch us. And you won't have enough people to invest enough resources and time to create that crap, to invest in AI, to invest in a transhumanist future. See, the people that are jumping on board today on the transhumanist train, which means merging technology with biology, literally merging and turning it into a new species, into a hybrid species. The people that are jumping on that, they are doing it because they're desperate, because they believe they're flawed, because they believe they are a product of chance and happenstance, because they believe that they are descendants of of single cell organisms that over an amazing period of time turned into human beings because of chance. And they believe that they're still very flawed, that that they're very antisocial, and that they are emotionally challenged and mentally challenged. There's all these troubles and social anxiety and all of this. And now the perfect solution is, let's not bring back truth. The perfect solution is, let's go further down into the illusory reality, where we augment our reality. We just put on a headset and put things there, and later we won't need a headset because the headset is in our heads, and we just put things in there that we want there, and we remove them. We just remove them. There's no process, there's no thinking, there's no feeling, there's no healing, there's no forgiving, there's no conversation, there's no discussion, there's no pain. Pain is such an important part of the healing journey. It's such an important part of the realization journey. There's no anger, frustration anymore, because you don't need that. You just wipe it away. and it's not in your visible field anymore. Of course, it's all an illusion. It's completely an illusion. But this is what people that that are on a now a much broader spectrum. You can't even call this autism anymore. I think that word doesn't do it justice. The spectrum is much larger of problems that are now visible in so many people because we have lived in such wrong ways for such a long time. We eat poisons, we drink poisons, we watch poisons, and we have multi-generational unhealed trauma, millennial unhealed trauma. And so now with those conditions, it's easy for these technocrat psychopaths to come and say, we have the solution. Don't worry about it. We'll create the perfect entity for you to live in. It'll be perfect. It won't have any sickness anymore. It won't have any problems anymore. You can just erase problems. You don't have to deal with them any longer. And of course, people jump on that. What do all these big tech people that are on the front lines, that are talking to the media, don't you think they all have something in common? Observe a Bill Gates, observe a Mark Zuckerberg, observe a Sam Altman, observe an Elon Musk. Can you not feel that they are, you can't feel them really? There's not much there to feel. And that's what they want to eliminate. They want to eliminate the real human spirit, the real feeling, because they themselves seem to have huge problems with it. They can't cope with that. They can't deal with that for whatever reason. I can't know what their particular reason is, but this is, and they want to create a reality where their own inadequacies won't matter anymore. Listen, this is on their level. It's deeply personal. Don't get fooled into the idea that these individuals are ultimately serving higher ideals. Most people do what they do in life to minimize their own pain. That's what they do. They do anything and everything to avoid pain, avoid suffering. And the more means they have, the more influence they have, the more they will use to minimize their own pain and suffering. This is how deeply personal every individual's journey actually is. So the solutions, my friends, are beautifully in our hands. They're not in the hands of the politicians or the big tech psychopaths or the scientists. They're in our hands. The solutions are creating healthy relationships again. It starts with ourselves, a healthy relationship with ourselves. They're in the healing. But the family unit, and the family unit, the model family unit that entails everything that is needed for the species to survive and thrive, is a man, a woman, their children, and the larger community around them, which is then, the grandparents and then the grandchildren, and that's the tribal community structure. This is not to say that I discriminate against gays or lesbians or other forms. That's not a discrimination, but they can't be the model because they don't have everything that it requires for a healthy and natural procreation and thriving forward. That's totally fine, and that has existed in tribal structures since time immemorial. That's not about that, but the model, of course, needs to be something that is naturally and in and of itself sustainable, right? So the model is a healthy family, a man, a woman, and children. That's nature. That's the family that society needs to be built on again. And right now, I don't see anyone out there having a serious discussion that is in any form of leadership position. And that's why I played that clip of Admiral Levine, he, she, it, whatever, because that's the Assistant Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. But there was nothing particularly healthy about that person that I would think anyone should model their life after. When I have listened to him or her many times, and what I see is definitely not health. Thank you, Norman. Thank you. So, and that's not a discriminative statement. It's actually, as a matter of fact, when I go through the departments in the states and in the federal government, oftentimes the irony is just striking. The people who are representing apparently a field, a department, do not represent what that department should actually stand for whatsoever. It's why you often see highly obese people leading a health department. How can that be possible? How do you go to a doctor for a checkup, and that doctor is highly obese, looks unhealthy, and then they're going to tell you how to live better? Can you spell hypocrisy? So the reason why I showed that clip is because I think we need to remove all these layers of the Twilight Zone and go back to the very basics: family, community, self-sustainability. Listen, I know people think it's such a big deal, and then they say, I live in an apartment, I can't do it, or I'm disconnected from my family. Well, how about one step that you can take today? Start where you can start today. And this is, if we're going to talk about solutions, then let's step from theory to practicality. Do what you can with what you have, where you are. Do what you can with what you have where you are. That's the golden rule, because that's all you can do. And that's where you can start. And so one of the things that are extremely important is that people regain a connection with nature. Nature has the truth built into it. It's like when you spend enough time in nature, you ultimately submit to nature's system. You have to. Only in an artificial space can you try to work against nature. Thank you. Thank you very much. Love Buzz. Appreciate it. So only in an artificial field can you work against nature's programs, if you will, or nature's truths for a period of time and think it actually works. But the truth is it doesn't. The truth is it doesn't. So either we're moving closer to truth, to nature, to creation, or away from it. There's only those two paths. And when you live in an apartment today, and when you think about what you can do to have a little more self-reliance, at least a little bit, what do you think you could do right now? How about putting one seed, or actually having a pot and dirt and a seed and putting it in there? Yes, you can't grow a full-on garden in your apartment. Most apartments don't have that kind of space or capabilities, but you can start with something. You can start with one thing. You can start with one seed. You can start with one thing that connects you to nature a little more. And imagine the first time, let's say it's a little tomato plant, right? When some of them are very hard to kill. Or it's basil, very hard to kill. Imagine the first time you make a salad or a meal and you put that leaf, that basil leaf on there, and you put that seed in there, you nourished it, you gave it water, you gave it light, you talked to it, maybe you looked at it, you gave it beautiful feelings and thoughts, and after a while you have the result of it, and then you eat that. Your life will be changed forever. And so many people, I'll tell you this, the happiest and most successful people that we know are the ones who have done this and who have expanded that more and more and more and more. Nobody's as happy as a person who can walk out into their garden or has their livestock, has their animals, has their chickens, has their eggs. There is no greater happiness in this realm than that kind of life. It's connected. It's community beyond humans. It's community back into nature. And so I encourage you all to not look for the solutions in more technology, more technocracy, more politics, more all of it. All of these things we will have to tackle, don't get me wrong. But we have to start where the beginning is of all of it, and that's the family unit. And start reconnecting with each other again, having real conversations, doing things together. I encourage you all, if you haven't, if this is something that you haven't done yet, or if you've put that off, our friend Marjorie Wildcraft has created this beautiful thing and has been working on it for many, many years. Go to DIYgroceries.com. So, actually, I misspelled that. My goodness. Thank God you can't. No. Actually, DIY groceries. That's right. My bad. So go there, DIYgroceries.com. And Marjorie has created a system where she can teach anyone, whether they're out of shape or they're older, they've never done it before, they have black thumbs rather than green thumbs. Doesn't matter. She can teach anyone who wants to how to get started on that journey, how to get more self-sufficient. And here's the thing too. It does not matter whom I talk to, whether that's Mike Adams, the health ranger, whether that's Dr. Northrup, OBGYN doctor that's been in the truth field for a long time, whether that's someone like Alex Jones or whether that's many, many other people, the Ikes, no matter who we talk to in this truth and freedom community, everybody is on the same page on this. The future of the human family and what secures freedom and sovereignty is self-reliance. The best way you can. Do what you can with what you have where you are. Get started today. They all know that as long as people rely on systems outside of their control, we can never make the leap that we need to make. In the future, a sovereign and free future for the human family will mean some beautiful things. It will mean that you will also have access to your birthright land. This is something we're working on behind the scenes consistently. Right now, we have a insane model where every species on Earth has a dedicated space to live in. There's no question that when a fish is born in the wild, it'll swim in the ocean, it'll swim in the lake. There will be no challenge to that. There are challenges that we create for them, but fundamentally speaking, every species that is born has a dedicated space to live in, except for humans. Today, we're fighting with an insane system where we need to work and pay unimaginable amounts just to have a dedicated space to live in. That doesn't even mean we have enough land to grow food on and whatnot. So we're working on that. And there are movements and initiatives all over the world that are actually working on birthright land, which means that every family should have a certain amount of space that's theirs to live on, grow their food on, raise their animals on, be happy on. We're working on that, and this is a lifetime project, but basically taking a substantial amount of land out of the commercial cycle, out of the speculative cycle, and putting it back in the hands of the people. All of these things, we need to work on all of these things simultaneously. And that's why I said there is no overnight solution. There's just awareness, identifying the problems that we're facing correctly, creating solutions and visions that are correct as well, and then implementing them. That is, to me, practical spirituality. So today, I'm really encouraging you in the strongest possible way. If DIYgroceries.com, Marjorie's network and her videos and her education is not for you, there's plenty of others. But get started today. Do what you can with what you have, where you are, even if it's just a small thing. Trust me, in a few months, in a few weeks, when you see the results, you'll be so happy. Just this morning, Christina and I went over. She started the seedlings earlier this week. And so it's like a seedling tray with little cells where you put the dirt in and then you put the seeds in there and you can get them started inside. You know, she did cabbage and she did endive salad. And so it's right now that tray's sitting next to a window and she waters it once or twice a week. And already we can see the results. It's already sprouting. It's coming through the dirt. We can already see it just a few days in. That's the miracle of nature. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And you can get started today inside, in your apartment, in your garage. I don't know where you are. There is a way for this. You know, there's hydroponics. There's so many things. But every step that you take towards greater self-reliance is a step towards healing and sovereignty and freedom. And eventually the people around you will follow in your footsteps. They'll see, and she has basically, Christine has created a contagion around us where the people that live in our vicinity have started their own gardens and are excited. And it's a beautiful thing. And these are the solutions. These are things we can affect right here, right now. A community that has these things in place is very, very hard to co-opt. And last but not least, I know people are saying, but we have the chemtrails, but we have the direct energy weapons. We have all these problems. I hear you. But what you can't underestimate is the human spirit and when it takes back power. No weapon can be formed against that. No weapon. They will all lose their power when the human spirit takes over again. When light takes over again. That's a given, my friends. So start with what you have right now, today, not tomorrow, not in a week, not Monday. Start right now. Do one thing. Whatever that thing is that creates a little more sovereignty in your life. And tomorrow, you take the next step. And the next day, you take the next step. And before you know it, your life will have shifted. Before you know it, you won't have the same worries anymore that you have today. All right, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being with us. We'll continue to do this together. As I said, yes, we're going through this Twilight Zone. It is crazy, but we're going to get through it. We're going to get through it one day at a time. Keep our heads squared away. Keep our hearts in the right place. Heal together. Thrive together. Much love. Many blessings. We'll be back with you again very, very soon.